from a synergy perspective, have 1 + 1 equal more than 2?
Yeah. Well, I think that seems pretty apparent, but sometimes we don't think about it. And the way I apply it to sales, right? There's different ways to apply it, but the way I apply it to sales, it has to do with using your resources properly, right? All of us have extended teams, whether it's management, whether it's executives above us, whether it's sales peers that could help us. They've been down similar routes, right, as we're going down, whether it's our pre-sales people, our technical people, operations people, right? We all work in these ecosystems where people can help us. But too many of us want to be lone cowboys and want to do everything ourselves. And I do have an example, and this is actually from my EMC days. I was working with one of the biggest banks in the world, or trying to get into one of the biggest banks in the world. Maybe they were the biggest at the time. And I realized pretty quickly, I was in my 20s, I realized pretty quickly I didn't know anything about the banking industry. And I didn't really even know that much about technology, right? So I leaned super heavy on our technical people, right? Who at that time, you'll laugh about these names, Pat Weber, Ed Liam,
yep,
right? They were our technical team, right? Supporting us. They helped me with both the technical aspects and also the industry information. Guys like Roger Marino at the time, Frank Keeney would come down from an executive standpoint. John McCarthy was my boss. He would help, and then of course, right, you have to know something. And I knew what I knew, right? So I knew basically 4 things, right? I knew that performance storage can make a difference because they wanted to put more than 1,000 users making $50,000 a year on average behind these workloads. And I felt that if we can increase their performance by 2%, I did the math, it could be $1 million a year of savings for them. And they looked at those numbers and bought into them. I knew that RAID, right? RAID was just coming out. We're talking in the late 80s, early 90s, was just coming out. RAID would make a big difference from a sparing perspective and also from a cost perspective. And also that the environmentals, right, if the symmetrics were small. So I knew those 3 things, and that's what I kept focusing on. The 4th thing I knew is that I would take as long as I needed to get in there, right? So back then, and you'll smile, we used to circulate all the reference letters. Remember all the reference letters? They would come from all parts of the country, all parts of the world. 1 or 2 a week would come out. Every week, almost every week, I would take that letter, type it up, copy it, bring it to an envelope, bring it to the bank. If I couldn't get in to see my client, which I usually couldn't, I'd leave it with his assistant, Michelle, or even at the front desk with the person's name on it, Paul, and he would get it, and I would talk to him the next time. And over the course of a year plus, it took over a year, 30 of them, he finally started listening and then ultimately became one of my biggest clients and one of EMC's biggest clients.
Awesome. And what about the last one, number 7, sharpen the saw?
Well, this is just practicing, and learning and being a student, right? Being a real student of what you do. Over the course of the years, I've probably read hundreds of, books, business sales related, taken multiple training programs. There's so many out there. Sandler is as good as any and better than most. It's been many years since I've gone through and really reviewed the program, but I still remember, right? The seven steps, right? I know there's 7 steps. I know equal business stature was a big deal. I know that they also felt like the think win-win, qualify, and if it doesn't make sense to withdraw, right? So, a lot of these things are all the same, and there's other really good ones, right? Miller Hyman is good. There's plenty of others that are out there, and happy to talk to anyone about any of them at any time. But the bottom line is it's important to have a way of improving and then sticking to it and making it a lifelong habit.
Awesome. And thanks for the Sandler plug. We're biased here at Sales Community to Sandler, so but certainly appreciate that. So really, really cool aspect, and might be interesting take doing a blog or post or things like that we can help out with. So we have here. So again, anybody that's watching or listening, feel free to comment, ask any questions at all. And we have from Hayden, the push-ups and sit-ups, Pat.
Hayden works for my brother. He's a rising star at CPP, and I think I've told him at least twice, and that no one can do your push-ups for you, right? You have to do them yourself. I had an old high school coach who said that to me one time. It seems like a lifetime ago, but I still remember it. And, as much as you want to help someone, ultimately you have to teach them how to fish, and then they have to go, fish themselves, right? And push-up analogy is something that we talk about a lot.
Awesome. Love that. And we have two questions we ask everybody. First one is, what advice would you give people that want to break into tech sales?
Wow. Without being redundant, right? Because I've just said a lot. I would say that you need to understand what the table stakes are. And the table stakes for tech sales are a little bit higher, I think, than a lot of other sales, because the rewards are so much higher. Right. I used to laugh and say that we could get paid like brain surgeons, and I could barely spell surgeon. Right. And it's true if you're really good at tech sales. So I would say that, and I might be plagiarizing from Kevin Haverty a little bit. Right. Table stakes are hard work, street smarts, and people skills. Right. But I would also say EQ and IQ are really important. Right? You have to be smart enough. You don't need to know product knowledge right away, but eventually you have to understand how the solution set will benefit the client. And that does take a level of intelligence, right? So I would say, to make sure you work on that, I would say just become a student. Long-term perspective is so important as well, Randy. Warren Buffett, right? I'm going to say two things about Warren Buffett. One might be well known, and I don't know if the second one is. He made 99.9% of his wealth after the age of 50. After the age of 50. That's probably more commonly known. What is less commonly known is he went right out of college. He went to work for his idol, who was Benjamin Graham, who wrote, co-authored security analysis. Graham Dodd were the two authors. So he was a famous guy, teacher in Columbia. He went to work for Graham. He was so excited about the opportunity. He moved from Omaha, Nebraska to New York to work for him right out of college. He realized when he was there a month that he had no idea what his salary was. He didn't even ask what the salary was, right? So think about long-term commitment and doing what feels right. I think it's more important to do what you believe in. And over time, you'll do what it takes, because it won't seem like work. You'll learn it on your own. So that's the advice I would give to people breaking in.
Awesome. And Tucker, we have a question from Dean, or I guess he's a comment, sorry. I can remember emulating the way Pat and Paul spoke and handled themselves when I was a junior rep at HP. They're great. So nice comment there, Dean, appreciate it. And then other question we like to ask is, maybe if there's one thing you could suggest for advice for those that have impacted by recent layoffs in tech sales.
Use your networks, right? So think about it, Randy. You probably, I don't even know what you have, probably 15,000, maybe more than that, right, on your LinkedIn. I have maybe 5,000 to 7,000. I don't even know. But
27,000. There's a cap.
Who's counting?
There's a cap at 30,000. So now it's like, I have like 3,000 left. I'm only going to accept, what I really want. But anyway.
So think about it, right? Be the type of person that if you reached out to someone like you, Randy, that you'd want to help them, right? That you'd want to take and make an investment in helping them. There's plenty of ways to network nowadays. I've told people, look through that I've respected, that have asked for help. Look through my network. Anyone you want me to introduce you to and talk about you with them, I'm happy to do it. So that's what I would do. If you're impacted, use your network. Use it as an opportunity to sharpen the saw, right? Going back to the 7 habits. Right. And think about win-win, right? There's stories out there about people, even during the Depression, that if they thought about win-win, if they went into even businesses that had no help wanted, there used to be no help wanted signs back then, right? They would put them on the doors. But if they would walk in and say, listen, I've been thinking about your business and I have some ideas on how I can help you to get more business. Would you mind if I bought you a cup of coffee and spent 15 minutes with you and told you what my ideas were? I know if someone walked into CPP's offices right now and said that to me, even though we're doing well, I would say, bring it. I'm listening. Tell me how I can increase my business. So that would be the main things that come to mind on how I'd answer that.
Awesome. What about examples of some sales leaders that you respect, and why?
Wow. Lots of them. Greg Guimond, my first sales manager at EMC, super organized, tremendously articulate, planned, pre-call planning was impeccable. Tom Heiser, who was my second level boss, amazing. All same as I just said about Greg, unbelievably passionate. I can remember us literally almost getting into a fist fight after we got thrown out of an account because the Guardians went down because we were both so passionate, and then we laughed about it a half hour later. Guys like you, Randy, one thing I'd say about you that you've said something over the years, besides just caring tremendously, and Zig Ziglar says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And you certainly epitomize that. But you also said something that has stayed with me, which is have 100% say-do ratio. If I say it, you do it, right? And that's how you are as well, right? So that's a great mentor. It's funny, Greg Scorziello was the guy who recruited me to EMC. And, his passion, his belief, it sold me. Think about it. I wasn't independently wealthy. I had other job offers that I knew with paying 25% more, and I still went to work for EMC where I knew nothing about it. So that's just the kind. There's been many over the years. My parents are my best mentors. Talk about a say-do ratio. My parents said it. There would be a better chance of the world ending than my parents missing something that they said they would do and not do it. And that's how strongly they felt about it. So, there's just a few of just mentors in my life.
Awesome. Love that. Yeah. Scores. He and I opened up the UK operation for EMC, and then 87 was when I got shipped over to Australia to open that up, and then you got shipped back to headquarters. So then you're able to get them then, which is awesome. Yeah. And then Tucker also just posted the link for my book, which obviously I strongly recommend, salescommunity.com/book. A lot of the folks you talked about have contributed in there, and some real good stuff, I think.
It's a great book, highly recommended. And what you've done is you've condensed some of the best ideas from some of the smartest people in this industry and put it in one format. I know that we offered, I hope that everyone on our team bought it, but we offered to buy copies for anyone on the team and have them expense it. And I know it's helping our team.
Awesome. Well, you get nothing when it goes through Amazon. So I suggest that using the link that we have. Anyway, so thanks. I appreciate it. And then what about, we're getting on here toward the end. So again, any closing comments or questions from anybody, please feel free. What about if there's one thing you could give yourself, your younger self, advice on? What would that be?
Be a little bit less intense, right? Smell the roses a little bit more. Not too much more, because the competitiveness and the hard work is what gets you ahead in life. But just understand there's a bigger picture and a long-term perspective. And I learned that over many years. But that's what I would say. For me personally, other than that, I feel pretty good about how everything's turned out.
Awesome. Yeah. Lot to be proud of on all fronts. So congratulations for that. So I always have to watch now this last question. If you have any PG Randy story to share, and I'll hold my breath.
No, it's all good stuff. So does the name Jim McDonald ring a bell in your head?
Jim McDonald. Not specifically. Sorry, Jim.
He was at Hudson United Bank, which was a bank that you and I went together on a sales call in Jersey City. You were the IBM product manager at the time. So we're probably 87, 88. And we were talking to them about main memory for their 4381s. And I prided myself on being prepared and having tremendous follow-up. And then I brought you on a sales call. And I just realized that I had some work to do, right? Because you set the bar really, really high. I almost was embarrassed. You were more prepared with better questions than I had. It was my account. And you did the follow-up more thoroughly than I did at the end of it. So that's the Randy Seidel I know and I remember. And thank you for being a role model, buddy.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't remember that at all. But anyway, so glad it could help.
You make impacts on people that you never even remember. That's 35 years ago.
Crazy. Thanks. You did that the years correct though. Anyway, so Pat's been awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Sandler for sponsoring this fantastic sales training sponsor of Sales Community. And as always, for those that are members of Sales Community, thanks. For those that are not, Tucker can maybe throw the link on there again. So thank you so much. Next week, we have episode number 122 is going to be next Wednesday, April 22nd. Gabe Pinchev is CEO of Field Pulse. Really cool company. So Pat, can't thank you enough. Tucker, as always, thanks for your help behind the scenes, and everybody have a great week.